Seems like every local in the valley here has a mountain bike. This sport is really exploding.
I break the law. I ride a legal trail.
And it's getting away from the cops, the cars, the concrete.
Is the Chinese are down here.
Skiers and snowboarders together on a run, you're looking for trouble. You know, they get on skis and they just think they can overcome the world.
The more you around, the more you're going to find out.
I like to think that death is out of the question.
Their life starts at 40 miles an hour.
You ride the chairlift for 2 or 3 weekends and you have to go like climb hills all week just to be even with God, you know.
Welcome to Mind the Track with PowBot and Trail Whisperer, ramblings from the skin track in winter, single track in summer, celebrating the core lords and fostering the culture of mountain life in the Sierra Nevada and Great Basin. Today is November 19th, 2023, and you're listening to episode number 26. By the way, thanks again for listening. Help spread the word. Leave Mind the Track a rating and review, and subscribe in Apple and Spotify. And now we're on YouTube with this fancy new video setup that PowBot's got here. Got feedback or a core lord we should chat with? Drop us a line at mindthetrackpodcast@gmail.com, at mindthetrack on Instagram, or just go to our website at mindthetrack.com and let us know what you think of the show. We're recording this evening at the worldwide headquarters of Gear Lab here in South Lake Tahoe. Big thanks to Gear Lab for hosting us once again. I am the Trail Whisperer, and sitting beside me as always, fresh off his first day slash and pow in the backcountry for the 2023-24 winter, is the professor of the Pow, the director of the Powder Intelligence Agency and the United Shredders of Snow, the one and only Pow Bot.
That intro gets me every time. What's cracking, TW?
Oh, just
we were living both lives of the show. You
were shredding pow, and I was slashing and loam today.
Yeah, we were on both sides of the spectrum.
Yep.
But we both live on the spectrum a little bit, I'd say. But
yes,
the spectrum of fun was you were on bikes, and I couldn't help myself but go up and see a nice sunrise and have a sniff and a poke, and make a few turns and some powder.
Yeah, it looks like you moved some snow. I saw that video you posted on Insta. It looked like you were actually moving some snow to. Yeah,
there was like 800 feet of powder on this one hill in Tahoe.
It counts.
and I found it. And I found
it counts.
And I found it.
I know. Well, you've got the nose, dude.
I like to sniff.
PowBot.
Yeah, it was good, man. It was super fun. It was really good to get out and stretch the legs. And for me, I gotta say, it was nice to just do a different activity than riding my bike. My body was like thanking me.
Yeah.
That my back was like, oh, it feels good to be hiking again.
And all the equipment worked okay and everything?
Yeah, everything worked great.
Sweet.
I left a little P-Tex on the hill, but I had an old board just for that.
The split board.
Split board, yes.
Yeah, and you went and ran some laps at Mount Rose after. On the split board or on a different board?
Different board.
So you took your resort setup.
Yeah. Yeah, I did call that a two-sport day.
Yeah, two-sport. Heck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only snow we're going to get for, I think, a little while.
It's looking dry.
It's high and dry.
I mean, we had BA on the show, actually earlier this week, but yeah, like the storm did some weird things. Like it was not looking too good, and then it looked like it was reforming, and it was going to actually produce, and
it was on, it was off, it was on, it was off,
and it was like it ended up being like okay. I guess, what would you get up there, like between 7 and 12 inches at Mount Rose, depending on where you were?
Perfect, between 6 and 12.
Yeah.
Blowing in a little bit heavier in a few spots where I sniffed out, but that was about it. And there was a distinct snow line. There was nothing below 8,000 feet.
Yeah.
There was a couple inches right around 8,000 feet, and then all of a sudden there was snow.
Yeah.
So I don't think the mountain biking is ruined.
No,
we were worried about that.
It was really good today. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the weather's a weird one, man. I mean, we need all the help we can get with weather.
Totally.
Yeah. BA was inspiring to have on the show.
He was.
It's amazing the work that he does. It's not easy to predict the weather, but he does a pretty good job of it.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think that you and I, in our hobby aspects of it, we take a stab at it at doing a good job with it too.
Yeah.
And I'd like to, start a site weather. We're such nerds with weather. We should do a weather segment. I talked to a couple of people this week about doing a weather segment, and I had someone out be willing to help us out.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's that?
I talked to Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg?
Yeah, I talked to Snoop Dogg and gave him a call.
I got you, Pow Bot. I'd love to do the Mind the Track powder report.
What the hell?
Dude,
are you serious?
He's going to be doing it, man. Yeah, are you ready for the Snoop Dogg Pow report?
What does he say?
For all you core lords out there, this is Snoop Pow Dog with the weekly Mind Z-Track Snowsizzle my Dizzle Powderiffic Snow report.
Oh my God. How did you get him?
Dude, I don't know how he cleaned up his act.
He stopped smoking weed or what?
Yeah, he's game to give us a weekly breakdown. So this is Snoop Dogg's and my breakdown for the Pow report this week.
Okay. Sorry about the bad news for Tahoe, Mammoth, and all of the Sierras. It's going high and dry for at least the next 2 weeks. Get used to and enjoy the white ribbon of death, or just keep riding your mountain bike. In other areas of the West, the powder continues dumping in Utah and Colorado into and beyond Turkey Day feasting. Heavy accumulations in some areas. Get some. Jackson and Montana are also turning on. The Cascades are getting going also and have more coming. But then they go high dry also a little further out 2 weeks. Interior British Columbia is the shiznit, and if I could be there, I would, and I'd be set up living large at Banff or Sunshine Village, sipping on some cognac after shredding or lapping some East early season backcountry laps on Rogers Pass.
Boom! There you go. You heard it. You heard it from Snoop, man.
Damn, I didn't know Snoop was a snowboarder.
Dude, he shreds.
I heard he got bored in the snow once, but he never snowboarded. It's like, I got bored in the snow.
We're going to have Snoop break it down every week, man. I love it. He's going to give the report on where to be, where to catch it, where to shred it. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he's on Team Mind the Track.
Good job scoring Snoop Dogg, man. I don't know how you negotiated that one, but we got like a zero budget for that kind of stuff. I guess he just had mercy.
He just loves the show.
Heck yeah. Right on, Snoop. Thanks, brother.
It's been
amazing.
Well, we got a good show today, eh?
We got a really good show today.
This was a good one.
Especially if you like adventure and Nevada and
good
exploration.
Good movies.
And good movies. Yeah, if you like good movies, you're going to like this one. You're going to love this one. Yeah. Why don't you tell us who we had on the show today?
Yeah, so we had Josh Daiek and his filmer Hazen Woolson on. And this was a cool connection because I've known Hazen for quite some time. He worked at the restaurants on and off for many years. He worked at both Christie Hill and Pianetta, and we've been longtime friends. We've just, been in the trenches, battled the trenches together at the restaurant. And, the last couple of years he's been out filming Josh, and the work that those guys have been doing is just incredible.
Yeah.
And I think that Josh is probably my favorite. We all live on Instagram now in the ski world. It's where everybody is forced to sort of make their living now. And I got to say that Josh's content is just gold. Like, he's the one skier snowboarder who, whenever I see his POV footage come across my feed, I'm just like, oh God, what's he going to do now? It's so good.
The closest I've ever come to pooping my pants while watching an Instagram video was Daiek. That guy, man, the stuff he sends, he's the king of the straight line on some of the gnarliest
straight
terrain.
Line Sammy.
Oh my God, man, I've been so gripped watching his videos.
It's impressive. Yeah. So, I reached out to Hazen, was like, hey, your guys' movie's been super well received. They did a Mountain State 2.0, which was a sequel to a ski film in Nevada that they had done over the course of 2 years prior to the film that they just dropped. And, I was just sort of like, we got to have these boys on the show and talk about Nevada. I've been skiing Nevada now. I did the math for 23 years.
Yeah.
Been going out there and chasing it. And I was just sort of intrigued by their dedication to it, because there's a lot of swing and misses trying to ski out there.
Yeah.
And they've been super dedicated to it. And I'd say that this last movie they just dropped, they nailed it. It's super inspiring. It's great storytelling.
Yeah.
It was cool to reach out to those boys and have them come on the show.
Yeah, it was awesome to there's some really good stories in this episode, some funny stuff, and
some good insights,
some great insights. And the film is already, they just got back from being on a tour. The premiere was not too long ago, and
they premiered over in France, and then they went to some other film festivals, and I think the IF3, which is the big film sort of award now here in North America for all the ski and snowboard movies, they won the best backcountry segment.
Yeah.
So congrats to them.
Yeah.
Congrats to all their sponsors. Solomon is a big sponsor and is supporting those guys. And Travel Nevada, I think, was supported this last movie as well. They did, And kudos to them for pulling off a rad flick and having a good time out in Nevada.
Yeah. Up to hijinks and having a good time and skiing lines that maybe have never been skied before.
Probably, right?
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, there's highs and lows. In this episode, there's like they got skunked a lot. They had some harrowing moments, but they also scored last winter for sure. So it all paid off. I think, like Josh said, he's a stubborn son of a bitch. So he wasn't going to give up, and he was going to keep. And you kind of got to do that. You mentioned it, Tom. Like Nevada is one of those places, like not just for skiing, but for kind of any kind of adventure. Sometimes you need to go back a second time because the first time you get skunked, but you'll learn, and then you go, okay, next time we're going to go back, and then you get it the second time.
And you dial it in and get it.
Yeah.
I think that's a good lesson in life and adventuring sometimes, is that it's, there's these great times when you take a first stab at something and you score, but then there's other times where it takes a second or a third try.
Yeah, and I think, with Nevada, this has been my experience with the Toyabe Crest Trail project. Like, people come back. They come back. They come out. They volunteer. They dig some dirt. They ride the trail, and they come back. And it's out of their own desire. They go, that place was amazing. I want to experience that again. Yep. And it seems like Josh and Hazen have that love, that same love for Nevada that we do, where it's like, no, I'm going back again because there's more. There's a lifetime of exploration to be had. So it's really cool to see that.
Yeah, it's super inspired by what they're doing, and I look forward to seeing what they do this year. Yeah, it sounds like it won't be in Nevada, but I'm sure it's going to be a good story and a good adventure.
For sure. Yeah, so without further ado, please enjoy this exciting and entertaining interview with Josh Daiek and Hazen Woolson, talking all about Nevada and their film Mountain State and Mountain State 2.0. Enjoy. All right, we're here with Josh Daiek and Hazen Woolson here in the Gear Lab Studios in South Lake Tahoe. Welcome, boys. Thanks for taking the time this evening to join us.
Welcome to the show, boys.
Yeah, thank you.
Stoked to be here.
Yeah.
Right on.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Did you get out and ski today at all? I know we got like a little snip of snow and PowBot went out, but did you?
No, we had a premiere last night, and we sent it kind of deep, so I was a little jealous of the sunrise shot I saw of Tom, but I was in no shape at that point in the morning, so I did not make it out today. We just barely got a dusting in South Lake. It snowed a bit more up there, but
yeah. So you're in the middle of film tour mode, eh?
Yeah, luckily at the end of it.
Are you?
Man, that's it's a grind,
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, what's that like?
It's it's such a cool thing. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, it's a grind, whatever. Like, I make it sound negative, but it's just taxing, just traveling nonstop between planes, trains, and automobiles and doing that whole gig. And then, a lot of times you end up partying afterward and, just trying to be present in there and be in the moment and interacting with people. And, I always want to, meet people and be genuine and all the things, and just all of it. It's like work, just at the end of it, you're like
exhausted.
And now you're doing a podcast.
Yeah, but this is chill. I mean, we're going to have some beers and
talk about
chat about Nevada, which I love.
So let's preface that for our listeners, as I think we'll get into a little bit in the intro, but you guys just dropped an amazing edit, or do you call it
short film?
It's a short film.
Would you call it a short film?
That's
I
what
think
you're
we can call it a short film.
I'd call it that, yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a sequel.
It is.
So tell us a little bit about part one.
Okay.
What was that like? It was a 2-year project you guys had for part one?
Yeah, basically a 2-year project. I guess to back up and talk about it a little bit, the whole idea came along. I guess I'm just always trying to think of how do you stay relevant? How do you do something different? Everything's been done, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you're not gonna come up with a new idea.
Skiing in Tahoe is,
yeah, pretty much the only thing you can do is tell a unique story.
Yep.
And for me, I was just I used to compete, so I'd be driving to Colorado for big mountain comps, to Crested Butte and whatever, to Utah. So you're always driving 50 and 80 Taos, same thing. And it's always just driving through all these ranges. I'm like, dude, this is endless potential out here. And never did anything about it, I'd be going to this comp and be like, whoa, this is sick.
So you never pulled the roadside attraction and just tag something?
No, because it was on to the next comp, or we got a couple days to get home and then to the next comp. And so it was always kind of in the back of my mind. I wanted to go check out these places and was looking for something unique to do. And I was like, we should go explore Nevada. Really wanted to go explore 50, the loneliest highway. Mm-hmm. And that's really how the project idea started. And, I was thinking that we were just going to walk into Nevada, just shred lines. People are going to be like, what? Nevada's insane. And that is not what happened. We went
Welcome to Sagebrush.
Yeah, we went out there, and our first trip we did with Connery, and it was probably the gnarliest avy conditions I've ever seen in my life. We were remote triggering and sympathetic ridges away, it seemed like. We were starting to ski tour up this one thing. We were going out up near Arc Dome in the Toyabe Range, and I was like, all right, you guys hang here. I'm just going to kick out here. There's no way this is going to do anything, but I'm just going to kick out here and make a switch back. And I started walking out there and the entire slope settled. And I'm like, oh God, don't move. You guys, eyes on. Full panic mode.
It was touch and go there for a minute. And even walking through the forest down below where all the snow had settled, it was woofing and settling in circles with a 30-foot radius. It was insane. And you could feel the drop in the snow, and we're like, this is some of the gnarliest conditions we've ever walked in.
Yeah. And so, we pulled the plug there, and then we came back another time, and there's
same spot.
Yeah,
we were just focused on the spot. It was such cool terrain and a really cool destination, and focused on it.
I think I just really wanted to with this film, I wanted to blow people's minds on Nevada, because and it's funny, people just think of the rubies. Everyone, even to this day, people be like, oh, I watched your film, the rubies, huh? Yeah, the rubies are sick. I'm like, you're missing the film then, because there's not a single shot from the rubies.
Right.
And that was my whole thing, was I don't want a single shot from the rubies. The rubies is the one known thing about Nevada. Right. So I'm trying not to go there. But we struggled. We struggled for the first year. We literally didn't get shots.
And when was that first year? What was the first time 21? You guys?
First year was 2021.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Yeah. Wow, so you guys haven't been skiing Nevada that long.
It was after the outbreak of COVID.
Correct.
Yeah, the winter
so it was 2021, and the first 2 years that we were out there were not helped by the fact that we did not have good snow years. So it was slim pickings to begin with, and then we're out in the desert where we were getting even less than Tahoe does, and so it was a struggle, because we didn't know anything, and we didn't know where we were going, or any of the approaches, or sort of just the general flow of being out there there, skiing out there, and filming out there. But then on top of that, the conditions weren't really good at all. So it was slim pickings.
But you kept coming back.
Yeah, we were drawn in, man. We caught the bug.
Yeah, I mean, the potential is there. Every time we're there, we're like, dude, imagine if that just had a little more snow. That line right there is so sick. Dude, what about that over there?
Yes.
Dude, just a little more snow. This would be epic. Like, I can't tell you how many times.
It got to be a point where it was a joke where we're like, can you imagine if this had snow on it? And we would say that about every single line. Yeah. Can you imagine this in a good year?
And then the good year happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, the good year happened for sure.
Yeah.
Let's rewind a little bit. So how did you, Hazen, being a North Lake guy, doing 360s at Alpine Meadows and filming some skiers
I don't
up here
even
back in the
normally-
day, how did you end up hooking up with the sender of South Lake?
That was
tell us a little bit about that history.
That was a lucky break for me, for this guy. It was actually, I had been filming for a long time. My dream in high school was to make my own ski movie. When I was 17, I have a picture of my birthday. My dad gave me an old VHS camera so that I could make my own ski movie in high school. And just was always excited to do that. It was everything was second fiddle to skiing, though. I wanted to be a better skier, and I was pushing all my buddies to get better. And so we had janky films, and I was making films, and just for fun. And forever, it was just about that. It was always like a passion project where I was like, I'm not a filmmaker or whatever. We would actually pass off the camera between everybody, and we would all film each other. And then at the end of the season, we'd have tapes and tapes that I would have to digest and edit, and then
Mini DVs.
Mini DVs. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Throwing it back. So anyways, it came around to being here in Tahoe, and it was actually through a friend. Josh was filming with Blank Collective, and they were looking for a filmer in the States, and specifically in Tahoe, and they reached out to my buddy, Josh Anderson. He's like, I know a guy with a snowmobile who can also ski and ski tour and has, films. So, we linked up in February of 2019 was the first time I went out with Josh and Alexi Godbout, who was visiting. And it was a bit of a wake-up call for me. I mean, it was unbelievable cycle. So it was like...
Oh, that February cycle.
It was February.
Yeah.
2019. And we just got 2 or 3 weeks of absolutely blower pow. And Josh took me out to his zones in South Lake, and I was filming on my little Sony.
I remember that.
And I was, at the end of it, I remember asking you guys, I was like, so is this what it's like filming with pros? Like, you guys just pretty much nail every trick or like line that you do? And Alexi looked at me and he was like, yeah, I guess so. Like who's this guy filming? But no, and from then on, I mean, it was that year that Josh hit the Highway 50 gap.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was kind of your breakout.
And we were kind of off to the races.
Yeah.
The backflip.
The double back.
Yeah, double backy.
Right?
No, single.
It was single?
Single twice.
Single twice, yeah. It's big enough. That thing was crazy. I remember watching that. Wow.
So basically, you guys started working together then in that cycle. I remember that, Hazen, because you were still working at the restaurant at that point.
Yep. So Tom and I go back. I worked as a bartender and a server at your restaurant. Yeah. And every day coming into work, talking about the POW that day, and good times there.
But yeah, I just want to reiterate, I really owe a lot to Josh Anderson because, introduced me to this guy, and what a gem of a human. And I feel so fortunate to have Hazen on my team and work with this guy all the time. He's got a super strong work ethic, works super hard.
Yeah, cheers to that, boys. It seems like you guys have a really good team with what you have going.
100%.
And especially for how remote you guys have been skiing, and you're out there, and it's this tight crew, and so you really have to rely on, I mean, not only is Hazen your filmer, but he's also your backcountry partner.
Totally.
So, I mean, what are your kits for that type of stuff? Are you carrying a huge first aid kit, Hazen? Or what's your situation with all that?
Yeah, I always have one in my snowmobile, but I guess we run a bit of a loose situation.
You guys use sleds a lot, eh?
Like a lot of approach stuff.
Okay.
But, depending on where we're at, like Great Basin, we're hiking for 6 hours just to approach and set up camp and that kind of stuff. But, there's a lot of wilderness areas too. So it's like we can only sled in so far and then we're on foot after that. And, so I'd say it's a mixed bag, 50-50. But yeah, there's a lot of like old mining roads and things like that we can approach, and even just like taking off like a 5-mile approach or something. Perfect example would be a hole in the mountain,
Yeah.
Like there's the Weeks Access Road.
It's a long way up.
And I've hiked it in the summer. I hiked my bike up there, Kurt.
Oh, it's gnarly. It's so steep.
My bike up there with my wife.
That Jeep road sucks.
Because I wanted to find my GoPro. So
Oh, you lost your GoPro?
In the first film.
It was a rescue mission.
Oh, God.
The first film, I crashed down that nasty line. And full rookie move. We had a week of filming and I didn't back up my GoPro, so I had a week of skiing and like good GoPro footage.
Oh, the lost footage.
Oh, no.
And I crash and lose my GoPro, God knows where in that couloir. And so I looked around for a little bit the day of the crash, couldn't find it. Then I came back in the spring, went up there and tried to find it. I was thinking it might be melted out and just sitting on top of the snow, right? That didn't happen. So then I went back in the summer and I took my wife. I'm like, babe, we're going to hike our bikes up here. It's going to be sweet. We're going to ride our bikes down. It's going to be super fun.
Total sand.
So my poor wife,
poor woman.
She fucking, she hiked her bike the entire way up this road, and then we start walking up just Casey. Like bushwhack central to get up towards that couloir. And she's like, I'm over it. I'm like, all right, hang here. I'm going to go run up there. And I
real quick.
I hiked for like an hour and a half. I'm like,
just real quick.
What are you doing, dude? You're not going to find this thing. Like, turn around. I wasn't even halfway there. It's like, all right.
So you still haven't found, so there's still lost footy on that mountain?
The lost footy is still there.
Oh, dang. You got to go back with a metal detector.
Yeah.
Then you'll find it.
And a gold panning kit. Set up camp for the summer.
Yeah, if you're that lucky to find it, you might find some gold too. Yeah, sorry, I feel like I took us off track with that story.
No, that's a good one.
Yeah, well, so I was going to ask, do you guys, having sleds, would you consider yourselves like sledders, or are you more like, when it gets real gnarly, I back off? Like, are you doing, like, if you have like some serious side hill approaches, are you able to hang a leg and just pin it, and like, or are you kind of like, well, we're not going to do that because it's too much, I don't want to end up rolling my sled down the mountain?
We had a joke going last year. I mean, it was so deep, filming here in Tahoe. Every time, Josh is an amazing snowmobiler, and I've learned a lot from this guy. But every time he would set the track out, and then I would come up behind and be like, was Chris Barant? Chris Barant is a pro snowmobiler who's like really well known and incredible. And I was like, did Chris come through here? Did Chris Barant set the track? Josh is like, yeah, you should have seen him. He just went by. So yes, like we get as far as we can on the snowmobiles, and Josh is an incredible snowmobiler.
Yeah, but I think Hazen's more of a sled necker. Every chance where I'm like, all right, boys, like, that was a good day. That's a wrap. Like, usually we're dark to dark, sun up to sundown. But sometimes it's just like the writing's on the wall. Like, we're not getting anywhere. Like, let's just call it. And it's like 3:30 or something, and Hazen's like, we're done filming, so I can put the bag down. And then Hazen's like jumping off every little boulder he can with his sled.
To be fair, that was a really fun day, and I was like, nobody wants to like just romp around a little bit? Like, this is incredible. So it was just me like blowing donuts in this field, and
bro, clip me up. Yeah. You gotta get this shot. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
Would you say having a sled like with the Nevada project was pretty critical?
Yeah, 100%.
And especially with all the mining roads out there, like on a big year like this, the snow line comes down so far into the desert, which is amazing.
Right.
But it means that you're just walking that much farther to get to the peaks. Right. And so having that initial access, when we were first going out there, you could basically drive
to the line,
and you'd be very close to your destination. Yeah. But last year is like a game changer.
Yeah. And I think so. Again, like, we rarely shuttled stuff. We were like mostly just like the approach.
Yeah.
So just take out the approach, and then we can hike stuff and be more efficient and get stuff done. Because if you got to do a 6-hour approach or whatever, you're going to get one line, one shot a day. Like, you know, at the end of the day, we're still working. We need to be efficient. We need to get things done. We need to get a bunch of shots and be productive while we're out there. So, so yeah, it helps so much. It's a very necessary tool.
Have you guys found yourselves getting, like when you're trying to, and maybe in the drier years you were working out there, like getting stuck in mud with the trailer and the sleds and everything?
It was, we were just talking about this before, but we did plenty of, we call it dirt biking with the snowmobiles.
Oh God, yeah.
Just like smashing down dirt roads. There's like, it's like nails on a chalkboard to me at this point.
Oh, that sound.
When the sound of your carbides and your skis just going through rocks and just so bad.
Did you overheat the sleds at all at any point?
Oh yeah.
Overheat central. So it'd be you drive like 20 minutes and there's like it is in South Lake right now, there's like a half-inch dusting on the ground, you know, so you're like, oh, it's gonna cool down a little bit, right? But then we're like scooping it up and just packing like mud and snow onto the tunnel to like cool it down because we're about to overheat. I had a brand new machine.
Oh man.
And I'm like, I'm not gonna overheat my brand new machine, dude. And then it was so funny. I wore through I broke the carbides just smashing through rocks, and I'm like, now that the carbides are gone, like my skis are gonna get worn through in like 20 minutes here. So that night at camp, we're like sitting there, like get a fire going, you know, burning sagebrush, and then we're like cooking our hamburgers or whatever we're eating for dinner on it. And then I'm like, I'm gonna go bust it. I was like, what's the toughest thing you can see around us? An aspen tree. I'm like, I'm gonna go cut that aspen tree down or branches off it and make some new carbides with it. So I made carbides with aspen branches, and it lasted about 1 mile on that dirt
Did you put
road.
ski straps around the ski with the carbide?
No, dude, I used the broken pieces of the carbide.
Yeah.
And like I brought my drill with me. I always got my drill with me. So I just like drilled holes through it and like jerry rigged this setup on there, dude. It was freaking hilarious.
That's amazing. But it lasted a mile.
It lasted about a mile.
Josh is incredibly handy and used to fixing things on his own, and I'd say you tried your hardest.
I gave her my all, coach.
So on that topic, like I feel like Nevada is one of those places where if you're going to go out there, you better know A, what you're doing, B, where you're going, and C, how to get yourself out of situations, because there's nobody coming to help you. You're so far out there. Did you guys find yourself in any situations like that at all, like during the course of filming?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, between my crash and the original Mountain State film, like, you know, I could have died there. Excuse me. That was about as bad as it can get. And the day before that, Trevor crashed into a tree. He misjudged an air and thought he was going to air to the side of this tree and came off this rock, and then there's just this tree that looked like a catcher's mitt, like an old burly juniper that was like 15 feet tall, and just like, what did he end up doing? Did he break his leg?
He broke his leg.
Hairline fracture.
God. And we had to snowmobile like out and up over a pass, and yeah, it was a whole thing.
Oh man, it was gnarly because you know, you see this happen. Hazen's got a drone in the air. He's on the ridge with the Barbie angle. I'm at the bottom. I see it happen. Immediately, like, to the radio, Trev, you good? Trev, you good? And, you know, his radio got the channel switched when he crashed, so he's not responding. I don't see him moving. You're, like, instantly into panic mode, like, all right, I got to get up there first before we're calling rescue. You know, I called Hazen. I'm like, land the drone, get down here now. Like, I got to go rescue Trevor. I don't know what's going on. And luckily I was able to snowmobile up pretty close to him and see that he was moving, he was okay. But yeah, it was that was at 7 a.m. We had been like put in the work.
Wow. First run.
Put in the work the days before to figure out this zone. And then we're like, it's going to get first light. We got to be there at 7. So we were dropping lines at 7 a.m. And then this happens. And then it took us all day. We didn't get out till like 5 p.m. or something, so it's like, yeah, when stuff goes wrong out there, it goes wrong. And like you said, Kurt, it's like we've got in reach. We have ways, because there's no cell service. We do have ways to communicate, but it's not like Tahoe or BC or something where like, oh, the heli's going to come pick you up in an hour. Just hang tight. It's like, you better have your own plans, and we always carry like extra puffies and things to keep warm at least, and like minimal first aid kit, to be honest. But I think typically we're not trying to take too extreme of a risk. Everything we're doing, I think for the most part is, well within your ability level, and like, okay, like how risky is this? Is this attainable? That kind of thing. And yeah, so
I don't know, man. The way you send some lines, Josh, it's wild, man. Like your approach is just,
you're not fooling anybody.
Yeah, you're not fooling anybody on that, man.
Well, how about your accident? Let's talk about your incident you had on Hole in the Mountain.
Yeah,
because that was, clearly that shook you up.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what happened, and like, what, I don't want to say what would have happened, but like, were you guys prepared for a situation like that?
No, I don't think you could be prepared for that situation, because like I said, I think if I crashed there, or if I had fallen down that whole face, the only thing that's going to help you there is, a hospital. And you're not going to be able to be like, oh, let me splint your leg here and we'll just handle this. Like, there's going to be head trauma. That was going to be really bad. And to back up, that was just like very, very poor judgment. Like I said a little earlier, when I made this film, I wanted to blow people's minds. Mm-hmm. I wanted people to be like, wait, what? Nevada? For real? And along with that, it's like, you're not going to blow people's minds by just like skiing down and making pow turns. And, you got to blow people's minds. You got to ski rowdy shit. You got to be aggressive. And this line I'd known about, and I've always had this vision that I just want to pin this thing from T to B. And when I was hiking up it had a little bit of a crust layer on, sun crust, but it was very small. It was maybe like a couple mils thick, and it was really hot. It's an east-facing line, and I was feeling like it was gonna warm up and just like be perfect, like edgeable ripping, and I was gonna be able to just kind of be like washing my tails, shutting down speed as necessary. And in that aspect, I think I was probably doing it for the wrong reason, and it's like, I had the end goal too much in mind, instead of like being like, this is what's in front of you, this is what's realistic. Mm-hmm. And I think I was overly confident, because we've been skiing in crap snow the entire year, and I was still sending. It's like, I think it comes from like comp mentality. People are always like, oh dude, I can't believe you're sending in those conditions. And it's like, I'm just used to it. And that's what I do. I don't really care. Like the conditions will permit maybe how fast you ski or the size of air that you're willing to take. But you can typically still manage and ski aggressively. And again, I just made a really poor judgment call. And, I wondered to myself if I had been up there for like a half hour longer and things had kind of like softened up a little more, because I went to turn, and my first turn just punched through that ice crust layer I was talking about, and it just instantly threw me over the bars. And
you landed it though. That was insane.
In that split second, Kurt, I was like, knowing that I'm crashing, and it's like, if you allow yourself to tumble one more time, you're going to tumble the entire face and you're going to die. And it's crazy how much you can think that in the moment. In that moment. And I was like, I have to get back to my feet. I have to straight run and then regain control. And that's exactly what I did. And I think that all just comes from experience. And, you know, that's obviously not my first crash. I crashed a bunch. And you know it when it's happening, and you know, like, where your body's at and how you can get out of it. So, like, as soon as I started to go over, I just, like, committed to that front flip and whipped my shoulders and whipped my body into the position I needed to get in to save it. And yeah, it
was an insane save.
I got super lucky.
Ninja. Yeah. Insane. Like, and the thing about it is that, like, to the layman looking at that, you know, like your commentary, your voiceover in the film, you're like, you know, that was the closest I've ever come to not walking out of there. Like, that scared the living hell out of me. And when you look at it, it's like, I've seen incidents that look a lot gnarlier, like, oh my God, the guy lost both skis, tumbled down the slope, but, like, you pulled that off with such, like you said, it sounds like you harnessed every single skill you've ever learned and pulled yourself back in and saved it. And that was pretty mind-blowing. What were you thinking, Hazen? At the bottom? Were you at the bottom?
I wasn't even at the bottom. I was, like, on just the way that the terrain was set up, I was on a moraine line that kind of went down from that face. And so to enter into the bowl, it was just going to be a mission. So yeah, I was terrified, and it was really scary to watch.
Yeah. Sorry to put you through that.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It was just like
you kind of put him through it every time you send a big line, though. Like, like Hazen, how do you? Sometimes when people are skiing like that, like if you're, you know, I've shot photos on and off over the years, and it's like when someone's sending that hard, it's you sometimes just stop doing what you're doing and then you're watching.
I was literally just going to say that there's times, like, if you're shooting a photo and someone's all of a sudden you're distracted so much by what's happening, it's like hard to even think about the photos, or like, so yeah.
Does that happen a lot?
It can be very distracting where you're like, oh my God, I was flying the drone. Whoops. I was just watching what Josh was doing. Yeah, there's been some close calls, but yeah, I very much trust Josh's mountain awareness and his natural abilities, because there's been so many times that I'm like, I don't know what I would have done in that situation, but you come out of it fine, and it's really impressive.
Where did you get your mountain awareness from, Josh? Are you originally from Michigan?
Yeah, originally.
Right. Whereabouts?
From the Mitten.
I'm originally from Michigan as well. Where'd you grow up?
In Rochester Hills.
In Rochester Hills. And what was your home mountain?
I didn't really have one. Like, in high school, I started skiing at Pine Knob a little bit. Yeah. But we used to go on a couple trips a year. We'd go up to Boyne Highlands out of Harbor Springs. Mm-hmm. So skied there.
Nubs, Knob, and
yeah, Nubs. We were a Boyne family, but it's funny that it's almost like the North Shore South Shore thing, because some of the family friends, they were Nubs Knob people, and we'd be like, then they were like higher class than us, so we'd be like, the Nubs Knob people.
Well, they're from Harbor Springs, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Like nicest town in Michigan. But so I grew up in Michigan as well, and
whereabouts?
I grew up in Grand Haven.
Okay, where's Grand Haven?
In the mid, it's over here.
Okay,
it's between Holland and Grand Haven.
West side.
Yep. West side. And we would,
and we're east side, dude. Battle.
I saw the Grateful Dead at Pine Knob back in the day.
Oh, right. They had a good concert venue there.
91 or something. But yeah, I mean, Michigan. So skills in Michigan. You grew up riding ice.
Yeah.
And then where was your first place out west that you moved to? Was it here?
Here, Tahoe.
Okay.
So I was, my dad was super passionate about skiing. He loved skiing. He'd get us out a couple times a year. We did a trip out to Colorado when I was in 5th grade, and I remember that trip and being like, I want to move to the mountains. And it's crazy how it happens at a young age.
Yeah.
And, it didn't have that same effect on maybe my brothers or sisters or other people on that trip, or, it's like, I just remember it impacted me. And I was like, I remember writing like school papers about, I'm moving out west and I'm moving to Colorado. And that was always in my mind. And then Dude, we were pretty much weekend warriors. Like we'd ski, or not even weekend warriors. We'd ski like a couple times a year.
Like holiday skiers.
Yeah, holiday skiers, totally. And then when I was in high school, when I was a sophomore, I joined the ski team so I could catch a bus ride to Pine Knob and then go shred Pine Knob. And this was like the most epic time of skiing, in my opinion, the early 2000s when they started building parks everywhere. Every ski resort had a park. There's jumps, there's rails, and the free ski revolution was happening. The new Canadian Air Force was doing new tricks every day. C.R. Johnson was spinning out of control. Like, you know, it was so cool. And you're like, get your Freeze magazine and like, what happened last month?
I had my Freeze magazine too, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just so inspiring and so like...
a lot of energy.
So much energy. And I was like, I just want to do this. I just want to go hit jumps and ski. And my cousin lived in Tahoe, and he's like, dude, you should come out. So like spring break, all my buddies went to like Cancun and Florida and all these places. And I'm like, I'm going to go ski with my cousin. And so came out to Tahoe for spring break. And dude, I remember skiing powder at Kirkwood and just falling and eating shit the whole time. And I was like, dude, this is lame. Like, I don't even want to ski pow.
Sounds like you were a park rat.
Yeah, I kind of thought I was anyway. As soon as I moved out here, I realized that, you know, I didn't have any game. But still, I think most kids, like, it's so fun to catch air, to go fast, and to flip, and to spin. Like, yeah, I love that. Still do. But I think more of my passion these days is obviously just towards exploration, and as you get older, you can't take as many hits. But yeah.
So all your big mountain awareness then came from shredding Kirkwood.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Well, okay, so I started skiing at Kirkwood, and you know, obviously you're like sitting on the chairlift and you see the same guys that are really good skiers, and I'm like, whoa, what's up with this guy? Like Craig Garbiel is the guy I'm speaking of, and he was on the Free Ski World Tour. This is before Free Ride World Tour and whatnot, and just an amazing skier. This dude is so talented, one of the best skiers I've ever skied with to this day. And so I started following him and like emulating his style, and he's like, dude, you should come do these comps with me. And I'm like, oh, okay, like big mountain comps. All right, like I don't think I'm good enough to do that, but I started doing the big mountain comps, started getting podiums and all that kind of stuff. And really the big mountain comps is really where I progressed my skiing, because when I first showed up, you know, it was like, yeah, I could hit cliffs, I can ski, but then I started putting the fluidity and like really lining up features and making a fluid line and all the things. That's where it all kind of came together. It's through competing.
And then where did the backcountry sort of element come in? Who took you out originally on skins for your first time and kind of got you thinking about touring?
Yeah.
How did that go down?
Well, I moved out here with a snowmobile.
Oh, so you started being a sled neck.
So, yeah, I brought out my little 440 that I had bought in Michigan, because, you know, trail riding's big in Michigan.
Oh, yeah. You're cruising around all the bars on the lakes.
Ice fishing and the whole thing, yeah.
So when I was in high school, you know, I was working for my dad and working at a restaurant. I was just hustling to make money because I knew I wanted to move out west, and I didn't know anything about sleds except trail sleds or whatever. So I got this little 440. My brother's like, yeah, this thing's sweet, you should buy this. And we'd like go rip trails, and then I drove it out west with me, you know, not knowing anything about sledding or whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, dude, this is sweet. Like meeting people at the resort. Oh, you snowmobile? Yeah, I snowmobile. What do you got, dude? Like little 440 short track 120.
You're showing up out of Blue Lakes with a little 440.
100%. Dude.
What year was this?
This was 2002.
Okay, so like sleds they still weren't like crazy.
No.
Yeah.
But
a 440 was still way undergunned in that era.
At that point, I think you were like the mountain max is like 140, 136, 136 maybe. Yeah. And the summit.
You're talking track length.
RMK,
Yeah, and the RMKs were like a 141, I think. Yeah. Like, and those were like, whoa, mountain sleds.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, man, it took me a long time to get where I'm at. You know, I'd say I'm like a late bloomer in that way. Just And then starting to ski tour really came about probably in the last like 10 to 15 years, and just, because I skied the resort so much, and I love Kirkwood, and I know it like the back of my hand, and could ski any line there without looking at it, and it just got to the point where I was getting bored. Mm-hmm. And it's like the sled access, I'm like starting to get bored, because there's only so many lines at Blue Lakes, and there's only so many lines here or there, and it's like, here I am sitting in Myers where the mountains just come right down to town, and I'm like, why haven't I been skiing this stuff? There's like some rad stuff up there. So that's really where it started happening. And then, you just start, it just opens up the doors for so many more places and exploration and zero people and, just all the things that I love about backcountry and love about Nevada, really. And that's another thing that steered me towards Nevada is like, I started ski touring 15 years ago, and there wasn't many people doing it, and now like the backcountry's getting crowded. And it's like kind of don't want to see people when I'm out there. I don't want to fight for tracks. Like I want to show up. I don't want competition. I just want to go out there, ski with my homies, and have a good day. I don't want to be like, oh, that crew's there. Oh, who's fitter? We got to get there fast. Like not.
You just got to get up earlier, like this guy. He gets up at 4 a.m. to be first up to the top.
And sets the skin track.
And sets the track.
Dude, what's the Minister of Pow now? Is that the new name?
Sort of, because I'm starting to,
the ordained
minister of Pow.
I'll put this one out to some of our listeners. But I'm doing weddings now, so I did Kurt's wedding the other day, and then someone at the restaurant heard about it, and they said, "Hey, will you marry us?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll marry you."
There you go.
And then I got another one. So
are you serious?
I'm doing
That's
two.
Awesome.
The word's out. Yeah, the word's out since I'm not working anymore, and just sort of focusing on the pod here. My side hustle right now is
I have a side
Universal
hustle.
Life Church pastor of Pow. Call me the pastor of Pow.
I have a side hustle of filming weddings too, so maybe we should combine forces.
So actually, Hazen, you'll get a laugh out of this one. One of the two that I'm doing in December. I'm actually I'm doing the officiating on Monday, and then photographing their rehearsal or their party, their welcoming party to all their friends the next day.
Nice.
So I'm double dipping. But if you ever have a wedding where someone needs an officiate and they like skiing, I'm perfect.
You want to get married on the top of a mountain? I got just the guy for you.
Yeah. If anyone people want to get married in Nevada or California, or send me to Utah so I can shred some real snow. So we don't have any here.
I think you got something there. The Minister of Pow. You do on mountain weddings.
Yeah, my tagline is, if you want a spiritual wedding but not religious, that's me.
Right. I like it.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. No, not religious, he said.
Oh, my bad.
Hallelujah.
Amen. Amen. Amen to the powder, though. Well, speaking of powder, then let's turn it back to Nevada, because Nevada's like, it's wild how Nevada is basically like a foreign country, and we can go on a ski trip. We can spend all this money to go all around the world and have the experience that you just described that we like having, which is a powder, shred and pow with no one else around. And we can spend all the money in the world to go somewhere. But some of us here now in Tahoe and Utah and the adjacent states, like, we can just go out to Nevada and have that same experience. It's pretty special. And you guys scored last year. Let's get into the movie then from last year. Like, you guys scored good conditions. You skied pow. And then I actually, the thing that intrigued me most was that you guys got good conditions in Great Basin National Park midwinter. Yeah, well done. Yeah, so I've
not
been
an easy
skiing.
thing to do.
That's not. So I've skied out there 3 times, but it's always been in the spring.
Yeah.
And I've always thought, man, look, that one line. Like, I remember talking to you about it one of those trips, and I was telling you about that line on Jeff Davies, and was like, there's this coulee. It looks so sick, but it has to be winter. And you guys got that thing.
Yeah. So we were there. That was March, right? Was it end of March?
Wow.
It was mid-March. Yeah.
Like, what were the logistics like to get in there? Then you guys had to have permits, and tell us all about that.
It was a hassle.
Was it?
Actually, dealing with the National Park Service was really good. We have this guy there, Robert Reinhardt was the guy who helped us out, and he was genuinely excited. He's like, oh wait, you guys are gonna come ski out here? Like, oh, people don't do that. And then he's like, oh, okay, well, let me see what I can do. And then he's like, got to talk to his bosses and stuff like that. But then, they needed so much. There's like, well, you need a itinerary, where you're going to be, what you're going to be, exact dates, exact routes of where you're going to travel up the mountain, where you guys are going to set up your camp, this, that, the other, what lines you're going to ski, how you're going to approach the mountain, and then how you're going to ski down it. I'm like, dude, I've never been here. Like, I don't really know. Like, I'm looking at Google Earth, and I think I'm hoping this looks like I think it's gonna look, and we're gonna probably approach this ridge. But if avy conditions are that steeper than I think, or you can't. It's like an impossible thing to do.
Is this because you're filming, or is this because
you're making a movie?
Okay, because they wouldn't ask these details of just anyone who wanted to go ski.
Correct.
Because you're filming, there's another layer of complexity.
Correct. Because it's a commercial film.
Right.
And there's just a lot of hoops to jump through, and I can't tell you how many hours I spent on the phone with this guy. And he's a really nice guy and ultimately helped us out, and I'm very grateful for that. But he's like, well, I was talking to my superiors in Washington, and what if you guys create an avalanche and it takes out the trees down below and ruins the natural resources? I'm like, what if? Like, there's avalanches happening in these mountains every day, bro. So trying to it's just such a foreign thing for them, I think. But to back up further to your question, dealing with the National Forest Service is a complete nightmare.
National Park Service or
National Forest, NFS.
So USFS.
Sorry,
you guys are dealing with them too.
USFS.
You're filming as well.
So they're more of a difficulty than the NPS?
Yeah, NPS was and I don't know if it was just this location, but they were down to help. Again, this guy, Robert, wanted to see it happen, and he was like, I've been working in this park for 40 years, and I've never seen what that mountain looks like, and I've never been on this route that you're putting on the map for me. And
he was blown away by the places we wanted to go and ski.
Yeah, and he was just... he was genuinely excited about it. He's like, oh, cool, you guys are going to do this and do that? Oh, wow, neat. So, but then dealing with the Forestry Service, they're just like, no.
But what about no?
Yeah.
How about no?
Now, which office did you have to talk to? The Humboldt Toyabe main office in Reno? Is that?
Well, we started there, and then I think we ended up having to deal with Spring Creek down in Vegas area.
Oh, okay.
And it was just this ongoing thing of no, talk to this person, now talk to this person, talk to this person, and you're just following all these leads to the wrong person, and then you finally talk to the person and you can't even have a rational conversation. They're like, oh, well, you're just going to destroy the resources, and there's no rationale to the conversation. And no, the forestry wasn't designated for skiing. This was started to protect our lands and for hiking and horses and blah blah blah, not skiing. This is not what it was meant to be. And it's
no, this is exactly what it's out here for.
This is exactly.
It depends on who you get, right? The biggest challenge with dealing with these federal agencies is they all have their own little fiefdoms, and some of them are awesome, and the people who are on staff are recreationists, or they get it, they understand it, and then you get these other folks who are just fun stoppers, and that's all they want to do is stop your fun.
And it just felt like we were running, bashing our heads into a brick wall, trying to be this film is about exploring these wild places. This film is about enjoying what this country has to offer and adventuring and being out in these places and
protecting these places.
And reasons why we want to protect these places. It seemed like our message fundamentally was the same, and it just we couldn't make it that point.
It seems like Travel Nevada got that from you guys.
Oh yeah,
and they're reaping the rewards of that from your movie.
Travel Nevada's been awesome. They saw the first project, and they just hit me up right away because I'd reached out to them before we did the first one. They're like, I think they just didn't understand or didn't get it, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, wait, a ski movie? Wait, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then they literally, the first film was out for like a month, and then I got an email in my inbox like, yo, if you guys are coming back to Nevada, let's collaborate and make this happen.
Awesome.
They've been awesome to work with. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are in the sense of skiing, you're blazing a new trail because nobody's really. I mean, there's a handful of our friends who know Nevada well, and they've been doing it for a long time. And they've been keeping it on the DL, but nobody's ever filmed a movie in Nevada featuring skiing. So like what you guys are running into, they're just like, huh? A lot of these government officials who are working in the backwoods of Nevada, they're not really recreationists. They're primarily hunters. Like a lot of the recreation that happens in rural Nevada is like hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
And maybe a few side-by-sides, but you're not seeing skiers and mountain bikers and sledders and dirt bikers and like, even rock climbers really like, there's just so
Pow.
Yeah.
I also, one other thing is that, when we say we're out here filming a movie, it's true. I'm using air quotes. It's a commercial film, but people think film crews, and it's like, we are the farthest thing from a quote unquote
like
film
Maverick,
crew.
like Top Gun. In Kingston Canyon. That's a movie, right? They had
that has a footprint.
They're thinking
a huge footprint.
Impact to the land. We're we're basically hovering above ground because we're on snow.
Right.
Yeah. And Hazen's got a and they're like, well, what kind of film equipment? I'm like, he's got a tripod and a camera.
Drone?
No, don't say that word.
Oh, they don't like drones?
No drones.
Don't use the D word.
So, did you guys get clearance to I'm assuming you guys got clearance to do all that stuff, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
Sure.
Next question.
I may or may not have flown a drone in national
you would
well,
never.
Maybe.
Well, we
just maybe.
We definitely didn't in the national park.
I was going to say, don't mess with the NPS. Is my least favorite federal agency because they are such rule mongers, and every single one of them is walking around with a hat and a ticket book and a gun, and they want to show you all the things that you can't do.
Yeah.
And it's just, you don't mess around. Like anytime I'm on the road and I want a boondock camp, I got to triple check that I'm not on like NPS managed land because they will throw the book at you. They don't mess around.
Yeah, they're not afraid.
But so we didn't mess around in there. And then honestly, we didn't even fly the drones in wilderness areas either. We were playing by the rules. I got a great piece of advice from Cody Townsend. Mm-hmm. He's like, because I was like, dude, you've been filming in all these spots. You've been filming in wilderness. You've been filming in this and that. He's like, dude, just only break one rule at a time. If you guys are going to go into a wilderness area, no drones.
Shoot it from the hip.
Shoot it from the hip. And that was really good advice.
Yeah.
Because hopefully we're not going to have issues. I think about it. I'm like, what is the harm here? What's the problem?
It's, bureaucracy.
It's bureaucracy. Yeah. And so, we're
fun stoppers.
We're doing our best to play by the rules and, we certainly didn't hurt the lands or anything like that.
Of course not.
It can go that far.
In the wintertime in particular, like you said, you're on top of a surface that melts in the summertime, right? Your tracks aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
That was a thing that NPS was struggling to understand as well. Yeah. They're like, well,
you have to stay on trail. You're gonna there is no trail when there's 5 feet of snow.
They're you're gonna be on the trail, right?
Yes.
I think.
Yeah,
just
right.
nod.
You just say yes.
Nod.
Yeah, exactly. Hazen, what's your background? Where did you grow up in
East Coast, I grew up in New Hampshire.
You did, okay.
Yeah, and we were very much weekend warriors too. But in high school, I was on the ski team and skied all the time, and really just caught the bug so bad. And it was at the same time where there was all this energy in the free ski movement, and so I started. I was racing, and then got into the terrain park scene on the East Coast, and was like, I want to make my own films and ski terrain park, and so that's what we were doing. It was a little bit of the Jackass CKY era too, where I was just talking about this, but it's like, I was in college and we were, just like filming parties and doing stupid stuff, and then going skiing, and so it was a little bit of that, and then moving out west. When I went to Alta, so same thing with Josh. Like, I went on a family trip to Alta when I was probably like 12 or something like that, and just was like mind blown.
Did you drown in Pow?
I did not. It was actually high pressure when we were there, but just seeing the mountains, you're like, there is so much more to see out here and to explore, and it really captured my imagination. And then in college, I went to college in upstate New York, and all my buddies were. It was funny. This is not a ski school at all, but I linked up I sort of hodgepodged every single skier in the school into our crew, and we had a little film crew that we would travel to Vermont to, and we knew as soon as we graduated that we were going to go out to Alta, and that's what we did for 4 years, and we were there for 3 really big winters, and our little janky films had started getting picked up, and we were by no means pro at all, but it was, we had some name recognition in Utah, and then
that through like new schoolers or something?
Yeah, like new schoolers, exactly. New schoolers, and it would get picked up on like the unofficial snow blog every once in a while, or so get some views that way.
That's a cool feeling, huh? You're like, yeah, boys.
Oh my God, you got Mom, Dad, check it out. I'm on the internet. And then moved out to Tahoe and had some drought years, and so I mean, it kind of was on the simmering for a little bit. I was doing it because I was passionate about it, but it never took off any more than that. And then everything changed when I met Josh. So, yeah. It's been a fun journey.
Yeah, it sure has.
I have a question about the first film. So you guys got skunked a lot, and there was that segment. I think it was Sand Mountain?
Yeah, Sand Mountain.
How is skiing on sand? That looked kind of sick. Is it fun? Or is it just like whatever?
It's fun. It's like novel, right?
Yeah.
It's like skiing a flat pow run or something, where you're like.
But can you get some speed and like actually carve turns, or is it kind of a struggle? Yeah.
It was kind of a struggle. Like, I think if it was steeper, maybe. But
it's better when it's wet.
We could kind of link up some turns. Okay, you've got some experience.
Colorado, yeah.
He's got the beta.
You've skied sand dunes when it's wet?
Yeah, big ones. When they're
shit,
wet.
okay.
Well,
no way.
My 2 pieces of advice is that when they're wet a little bit and they're psychedelics. Skiing sand dunes is way better. Yeah,
it's funny because I had this on the list before we even started the project. Like, I think, when you're like making a film, you like want to have unique and cool stories to tell. And I was like, dude, we're gonna go ski the sand dune. It's gonna be sick. But I had like big visions. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll find a spot to like do a backflip or a 360. It's gonna be sick, dude. And that certainly didn't happen.
Did you guys get shuttled up in like a side-by-side, or some like redneck like give you a ride to the top or something?
Afraid not. I think a couple of guys came ripping by us as we're like boot packing up.
He didn't stop and offer you a ride?
No.
Rude.
But dude, this is how it went. We go Arc Dome, hike, show up, whatever, 6-hour drive, show up at night, wake up the next morning at like 5 a.m., hike for like 6 hours, get shut down, tail between our legs back, go to the hot spring, wake up the next morning, quick soak. We met, what was his name? GK. Legend, living in his, what was it, in his little bug. And then I'm like, well, let's go ski the sand dune, boys. And so we like had a beer or two, and like I'm still envisioning like, oh yeah, we're gonna go do like backflips, like we're gonna go do some crazy stuff. And it's like, no, dude, like we were like barely making enough speed to make turns, and it's like, but it was fun. It was like, we had a couple beers. We didn't have the psychedelics, but we had a couple beers and like hiked it till sunset, and then we had this awesome sunset.
The views, the sunset looked amazing in the film.
It was so cool, man. It was like a very unique, and like we had a blast. We were all like laughing and high-fiving, and it was
a lot better than the snow skiing, that's for sure.
It was a great session, but it wasn't,
How's it hiking up sand in your ski boots?
It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah. Yep, that's it.
It's really good for your bindings too.
I was going to say, how much did it mess up your gear?
Oh, dude, Connery and I both had shifts on our skis.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's so many moving parts and grease in there, little bits of grease.
Oh, no.
And it's just all just caked in sand. We both ruined our bindings. I went home. I like literally.
Leave a bad review on like backcountry.com. Like, these things suck in sand.
Don't take them to the beach.
Don't take them to the beach. Dude, I literally took a shower with my skis for like a half hour. I'm like trying to blast water or blast the sand out of all the joints and moving parts.
Were they ruined? Or were you able to
Pretty
resurrect
much.
them?
I pulled them. I think I sold them to some nerd. No, I'm joking. No, they were definitely destroyed though.
How you guys like Middlegate? That bar's pretty sweet, huh?
Dude, so cool.
That was such
place
a
is
highlight.
epic.
Yeah.
And it was at a critical point in the day. If anybody knows me out there, they know how hungry I can get, and it
the boy's
quickly
hungry.
turns to an emergency.
Did you get the burger?
Did you get the animal, or what do they call it?
Did
The
we
monster?
get?
We had breakfast.
Yeah, we had the breakfast, but it was like
chicken fried
unbelievable.
steak.
Oh, chicken fried steak for breakfast. But it was an emergency, and we were like, maybe we won't stop here. And I was like, no, we will stop here because I need to eat. And it was the best. It was the best call because that place is so cool and so full of character.
Oh, yeah.
We hopped out of the car and there was a fighter jet that
was
like
so cool.
literally came scorching over us, and we we're like ducking down trying to get out of the way. It was really cool.
Yeah, right by the airfield there. So
Yeah.
that fighter jet, it couldn't have. Like I saw the guy's eyeballs. He had blue eyes. Good looking gentleman flying that plane. But he was so close to us, man. That was
So
nuts.
close. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Top Gun school. That's their backyard. Like the Desatoya and the Toyabe and the Takima. They just fly in and out of those canyons like all day long, man.
Sick.
Breaking the sound barrier. It's crazy.
Super cool to see.
So do you experience that when you're hiking out by bunker and whatnot? Just them come ripping by you?
Well, in the summertime when I'm doing trail work out there, I'll be above the plane. The plane will be below me.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's crazy. You're looking down on it, and it's fully. This summer we were filming a segment for Wild Nevada, the PBS show in Kingston Canyon, and like we're looking at the lake. We're like upstream from the lake, and this jet comes up the canyon, fully pitched sideways, about 100 feet above the ground, just goes up the canyon. And I turned to the cameraman. I was like, "Please tell me you got that." He's like, "No, I missed it." I was like, "Damn it!" It was insane.
That was actually like the same thing with Hazen and I when that jet came by. I was like sitting there taking photos of that bar because it's so unique.
Yeah.
And you like run down and you like can't believe it's open. And Hazen's like standing where Tom is, like looking this way. He's like, "Oh shit!" And I like turn around and I have my camera out, but it was like, and I missed it. It was here, it was gone.
It's like trying to catch lightning on your camera. It's like just not gonna work. You got to be so lucky to catch that.
But yeah, Middlegate is cool, man. That was just like another one of those things like that happens every adventure we go on in Nevada so far. It's just like we stumbled upon it. We're like, where can we get food? We're driving down 50. There's nothing.
Yeah, it's the only place to get
You're just like, what's this Middlegate place? And I'm like the kind of guy, like, I just want to keep moving.
Yeah, you don't want to stop.
I'll just deal with the hunger thing.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
And Hazen's like, no, we got to stop. I'm like, dude, it looks like it's a little off the road. It's not really like a pull in, pull out. I mean, it's basically like
It's 200 yards. It's 200 yards. It's a little shady. I don't know.
But we're like looking on the map, you know, and I'm like, it doesn't look like it. It's just an exit ramp. We're just going to pull in there. Coming up with some excuse so we can keep rolling. He's like, come on, dude, we need to pull in here. And I'm so glad we did because, like, what a cool place. And, you know, the environment there and just, like, the people there are pretty wild, too. You know,
They're wild, yeah.
Just talking to them and, like.
A lot of transients actually end up there, like, they're on the road, and then they get, you know, you get free room and board there if you work there. So people who are, like, on the go, they end up, like, just staying there and then working there. I did not know that. That's cool. Yeah.
Well, there's one woman we were talking to. She's like, yeah, I've been here for 30 years. I moved here when I was 19, and I've been here 30 years. I'm like, really? You don't want to see anything else or go anywhere else? Like, you're good with this? And I was like, yeah, she's stoked. So, all right.
It is beautiful
To
out
each
there.
their own.
Yeah.
Hey, so you guys ended up in Belmont. Did you end up skiing when you went to Belmont, or did you just like drink whiskey and shoot off cannons and set bear traps and do all the other redneck things?
Lots of Nevada things.
That was an amazing little segment. How did you end up in Belmont, by the way?
Well, in the film, the story's kind of told out of place.
Okay.
So we were at Bunker Hill Zone, we're there in Kingston.
Yep.
And I knew about stuff over in the Takima Range and Jefferson and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, we got to go check this place out, boys.
Yeah.
And so that's when we went. And like in the film, the story is told, because our editor, who does an amazing job, but I think it was just like out of context, and he didn't realize that like this happened on the way. Basically, like we went through this town, and this is when we went to Takima Range and skied there.
Oh, I see. So like, because you showed
point A and point B.
You showed
Right.
some cuts skiing in the Takima.
Correct.
But that was like 5 minutes or 10 minutes before they showed you guys in Belmont.
You got it.
Okay, got it. Okay, so you did ski in the Takima.
So we did.
Sweet.
Yeah. And it's sick.
Awesome.
And we saw a bunch of stuff that we didn't get to ski because we got clagged out by clouds and weather. But man, that place is like
Jefferson is
we're
Unbelievable.
legit.
That's
It's
on
legit.
that's on the list. We're
Yeah.
going back.
Yep.
Yeah, so we have a friend who lives in Kingston, Matt Francis, who's a big skier and has skied Jefferson a couple times and knows the zone. Yeah, and he was, when we did the Bunker Hill Day earlier this year, we were talking about maybe like making a run over to the other side to try and get Jefferson, because that's a really cool, he's like, dude, it's a great mountain. It's really cool.
And we
There's a
saw
lot
some
of,
Incredible terrain. It's a long access, though.
it's long access.
We
Yeah.
saw some sick, like, northwest facing lines too. Remember those coulees?
Unreal.
Going back down into Smoky Valley there. It was like, whoa, dude.
Serious terrain.
What is that? Like, there's a
it felt
lot
like
of sick terrain there.
every corner we turned around, every peak we got on top of was like, there's more. There's more.
I was going to ask you guys, what range surprised you guys the most?
Yeah.
Out of all of them in Nevada, what was the one that really that
Stood out?
That stood out.
Man, that's a hard question. I think they're all so unique and badass in their own way.
I mean, with having a
What
good
do you think?
with having a good snow year like last year, they
What's
were,
the first one you go
think-
back to?
My obvious, I was blown away by Great Basin National Park. This is someplace that I had dreamed of filming before even meeting Josh. It's kind of funny. We had this same vision of Nevada, separately. But it was just someplace that really captured my imagination, and being out there and being in it was even more than I could have imagined. Being up on those ridgelines and seeing the peaks out there and the lines and the potential was just like, oh my God, it was unbelievable.
Did you guys summit Wheeler when you were there?
We did not technically
Not
summit.
to the
You
summit.
guys, and you guys were closer than I was, but you were
we were
high on that ridge.
We were on the ridge, probably half hour from summit, or maybe 40-minute hike still.
There's an
We're still a ways
amazing
away.
line off the south side of that thing that takes you all the way back. You can ski out the other drainage.
Oh, yeah.
All the
Huge
way-
relief.
I think we saw that.
It's like a 5-6K descent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
I feel you there, Hazen.
Yeah,
It's
Great
a special
Basin
area.
is, and some of those lines, like I said in the film, this one bowl we camped under was like.
Is that the last segment of the film?
Yeah.
That was my favorite segment of both films. That was so, the music, the soundtrack, the lines you guys were skiing, how aggressive you were, you were sending stuff, you were straight lining stuff. It was so rad, man. That was my favorite. Like at the end of the film, I was like, yeah, that was sick.
Dude, that was a good way to end it for sure.
Yeah, it's like how you want to see that stuff skied.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was in the park? That was in Great Basin?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was, like I was starting to say, that was the zone that we camped at, and I'd found this image on Google Earth of this face, and I was like, dude, I think it's going to be kind of like spiny and featurey, and sure enough it was. And it's a bummer we didn't get to ski it, because there was some rowdy things that could have gone down in there. And like I said in the film, it was just like heating up too fast, and it was like it was dangerous. It was just like obvious.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going there.
Yeah.
We're not even going to mess with that because we're not here to die. We're here to have fun. And, you know, you got to know when to call it. So, but yeah, Great Basin was the shit. You know, Tequila Range was really rad. The Toyabis is super sick too, man. There's so much rad terrain. And
And did you guys go north to Jar BIDGE?
Yeah,
we
the
did
first film they did.
in your
first film.
in year
that was a
one.
really cool range too.
I got a call out. It's Jar BIDGE.
Oh, dude, did you see that? Or did you hear?
Oh, you guys said it a few times. I was like, oh.
Oh, I did. Dude, so here's the deal.
I just did it too. So.
Here's
It's a common mistake.
Here's a pretty funny story. So I didn't realize it was Jar BIDGE. I just kept saying Jar BIDGE. And so there's basically one, the Red Dog Saloon was the only lodging and fuel stop open.
Yeah.
And we sledded there, right? So these guys like had us under their thumb, basically. Like, we weren't going anywhere without them. But they were super cool. It wasn't like that at all.
Is that Jace?
Jace, that dude's a gem.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome
He's
guy.
funny.
He totally took care of us and was awesome. But we would come in every night, and we were there for like 3 nights or something. We'd come in every night, and all the locals would come in, all 5 of them. And they'd be like, what'd you guys get into today?
So where'd you stay?
At the Red Outdoor Inn.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay,
But Jace owns
Same
that.
owner.
It's like right across the street.
Yep.
But we'd come in, and all the locals would be like, what'd you guys get into today? And we'd be just like talking about what we were doing. I'd be like, yeah. And then we went up to Jar BIDGE Peak and Jar BIDGE that and Jar BIDGE. And so the next day we come in to have dinner. It's like, 8, whatever. And the lady comes in, the local lady we've been hanging out with, and she's got a shirt. And it says, there's a photo of a jar, and it says, it's Jar, and then it spells out BIDGE, not Jar. There's a picture of a jar and a picture of a bridge.
Literally, like, couldn't have been more on the head with her.
She was just like,
She wore that just
she's
for
like
you?
looking at me. She's like, buddy, wake up. Hello? Anyone in there?
That's so good.
So she comes in with this shirt, and I've done like this is like we're leaving the next morning, and I'm like, Hazen, I'm an idiot. I didn't realize I was saying it wrong the whole time. He's like, oh yeah, dude, you've been saying it wrong the whole time. I'm like,
You knew?
yeah. I'm like, Hazen, why didn't you tell me? We've been doing like interviews, and we're doing all this stuff, and I'm like doing my selfies, like, oh, we're here at Jar BIDGE Peak, and blah blah blah, and like, so we got all this footage where I'm just saying Jar BIDGE, Jar BIDGE, Jar BIDGE, and I'm like, Hazen knew the whole time, and I'm like, why didn't you tell me? He's like, you're the boss. I'm like,
Oh, that's amazing.
like, come on, bro. Have your boys back here. But that was pretty funny. The lady totally like schooled me.
How did you like it?
That's a
Jar
solid call out.
BIDGE.
That's a solid call out.
How did you like it there? Was it good?
T-shirt. She had a T-shirt made.
The terrain was really cool, and this is pretty.
Did you guys like go up towards the boundary, the wilderness boundary? Like,
Yeah, we got up on top of Jar BIDGE Peak,
Yeah.
and we skied off of that. Honestly, the snow wasn't great, and it was super hard to get up there. It was a lot.
did
of
you
work.
guys sled up there, or did you have to?
We
skin?
sledded as close as we could, and then we skinned.
And it was like up a mining road or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of bushwhacking and trial and error, and
Yeah. And then like same thing, you get to like wilderness boundary road ends, and then it's like, and there wasn't much snow that year. So it was like clear, the road ends here, and it's like, all right,
Yeah.
I guess we're walking from here, and then we start like hiking up, and then there's like one of the debris from one of the biggest slides that I've ever seen, like walking through house size frickin'
that was 2020.
snow chunks. That was 22.
2022 when we had a huge January, massive cycle in January, and so we were like set up, and all of a sudden it was like 4 weeks of high pressure in February. We went out there, and that whole face had slid massive.
Yeah, and then we're like, should we be skiing anything here? This seems pretty gnarly. Like, so then we were just like tiptoeing around and scared, and we came across, so over the pass, because we sledded in there, over the pass coming into Jar BIDGE, there was like this really cool zone that we saw sledding in. So we like sledded back out of town, like we're going back towards Whitehorse. And then there was like some really cool lines and couloirs and stuff like that. So then we sessioned all that stuff, and that was epic. That was such a fun day.
And you guys parked your truck like out by Whitehorse Reservoir and came in the back way?
Yeah, back door entrance.
How was that?
Dude, it was awesome. It was such a rad adventure.
That was one of the coolest experiences.
We didn't know. We didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Right. We're
like, so you were going into the abyss
we're
with
just
your
kind of
sled.
like rolling the dice.
Hope we have enough gas.
Hopefully we get there, and hopefully this road is passable.
Right. It's not side hilled out or like
there's no
drifted.
There's no beta, and there was spots. There was like a couple spots that got dark, and we had to dig out because it was so wind blown and like firm.
Yeah.
And like mountainside, just like this, and
you have to dig it.
You can see the road still goes over there, and like I said, there's like not a ton of snow, so it's like, okay, we can get on that flat over there. We got to dig out this whole stretch. And then it's like, and then it's getting dark, and then we come to the next one, and it's like, dude, we can't dig that out. And it's like, dude, can we drop down into that drainage and go over there and like high mark up over there? And it's like, that's north facing, and it's Pow. And then it's like, what happens when we wrap around this corner and try and go into the canyon that Jar BIDGE is in?
Right.
And there's just so many factors and like
my
things
gas
where
tank
it's
was
like
on E.
And Hazen likes to play this game. And one of the times we were digging out, he's like, I like to play this game called
What's the worst thing that could happen?
What's the worst thing that could happen? I'm like, well, worst thing that happens is we go collect some dead branches. We're going to make a fire. We're going to sleep here tonight. Then we're going to ski down into town. Then we have to ski tour back up with fuel tomorrow. And
you were low on fuel.
Yeah.
Did you start with a full tank?
We both did. We
It's like
ended
50
up
miles,
having basically the same amount of fuel, but my gauge is just less reliable, so it gets scary.
I feel you. Yep.
So that was just all the variables of not knowing, and dude, we made it down into that town, and we were so psyched, and to go like sledding through that town, and you just we hadn't been there, so you don't know what it's going to look like.
Totally.
What it's going to be, and then it's like all these old rustic buildings, and you're like sledding through. There's no one there, and then there's one light on at the bar, and I walk in, I like open the door to the bar, and it was just like everyone just spins and looks at me.
Yeah, the spin look. Yeah.
And you're like, is this Jar BIDGE?
Exactly, dude.
They'd be like, nope. I think you should leave.
No, I just like, they all spin and look at me, and I like look at everyone in the eye, all 5 of them or whatever. I'm like, man, am I glad to see you guys right now. And they're like, you look thirsty. I'm like, we're very thirsty. We're just had a stressful couple hours. But that ended up being like, a trip of a lifetime. It's like one of those things you'll never forget. And like,
yeah. It's so cool.
Did you guys do much filming on that? It seems like you probably didn't have time to actually like document that adventure too much because you just needed to get there before dark, right?
Yeah, we did, and that's kind of what killed us was that like, it's so beautiful and hard not to. Hazen's like, oh, we got to get this drone shot.
Right,
and I'm like,
damn it, we got to go.
All right, dude. Yeah, like that's what we're here to do. We got to like get the shot.
There's the balance, right, between making ground and getting the shot. Yeah.
And then here's a fun little side story too.
No, don't tell the story.
Come on, we got to tell the story.
Tell the story.
If he says that, you have to tell the story.
Of course, it's too late.
I just bought a brand new snowmobile that year.
Oh, God.
And we're out like an hour into the ride, and we're both just amping so hard. Like, this is so beautiful. We're just like on these roads, and everything else is sagebrush. There's just snow holding on the road. It's kind of crazy how that happens. Mm-hmm. Like, roads hold snow for some reason. Yep. But we're just ripping through sagebrush at 70 miles an hour. And so, you go for like 20 minutes, and then I'd like stop, be like, is Hazen coming? Hazen's all good? Okay, cool. We're teams together, regroup, start going again. So one of the break stops, I'm like sitting there waiting, and then it's like, okay, here comes Hazen. I just turn back around, and I'm like looking at the mountains, like, oh, what about that line? What about that line? Bam! I just get smacked by a snowmobile. Next thing I know, I'm cartwheeling through the air. Hazen hit me at like 30 miles an hour.
Oh, God.
We're out in the middle of nowhere in the desert, and Hazen was doing the same thing. I'm sitting there looking at these mountains. Hazen's doing the same thing. But pinned on his sled, he was going like 60.
Oh my God.
And then the last second looked down and saw me and grabbed brake, and he still hit me at like 30.
It was a glancing blow, but it knocked both of us clear of our sleds.
Both of us went ragdolling through the air.
I think there was like elk track that were like on the road for a little bit, and then they like went off into this aspen grove, and I was just like looking at that, and then from the aspen grove up to the mountains, just got
Oh my God.
Here I am, I'm like laying there, my brand new sled, the tunnel's all like bent up and whatnot. And you can't help but be a little butthurt. So I get up and I'm like, dude, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I think I'm okay. I'm like, God damn it.
What was that?
What is that all about, dude?
There's literally nobody for 50 miles around us, and you managed to hit me?
That's what I said. There's no one for 100 miles. You hit the only person within 100 miles.
I've got a fat lip. I'm like laying in the snow covered in dirt, like, sorry about your new snowmobile.
Oh, that's a good share.
Like the sleds worked okay. You were able to continue, or did you?
Sleds were all good, and then
that would have been a real bummer if both sleds were like wrapped to the point you couldn't ride them.
Can you imagine?
Oh, you'd be. That's a long skin out.
Like I said, we were like at least an hour in at 70 miles an hour. So we're like 70 miles from anywhere it felt like. But I guess it's only 50 miles, so maybe that's a little exaggerated. But
it
that's
felt
how
like
it
70.
Felt. Yeah, that's how it felt. But yeah, that was. Now it's very funny.
Yeah, and now that story is going to be known by everybody.
Yeah, it's good. The people need to know, Hazen. The people need to know.
Yeah, that didn't make it in the film, luckily, at least.
Right. Well, we didn't document that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have your GoPro on while you were riding your sled?
No, thank goodness.
Now, you guys, what is the most valuable resource that you guys utilize to figure out where to go?
Google Earth.
Google Earth, yeah.
UnDP.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a cool app, man.
It really is, yeah.
The way you can like zoom in
Change
and then
the
like
angles, yep.
get in on different ways and like come in over the top and like how steep is that really? Is that a cliff? Like what
exactly.
It's the best resource we have.
Yeah.
And then like you can scroll through like time, like because they have like shots from different months or years and whatever, and it's not like exact, but you can like kind of look at different times and be like, oh, I found one that has snow on the mountains.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to find in a lot of places, but then you can find like snow on the mountains. You're like, oh, that is sick, we gotta go here, so yeah. Google Earth is badass and just like giving you a real, we use a lot of topos and stuff with Gaia as well when we're in the field. Yeah. But like for finding stuff, like you can get a real grasp of what this terrain looks like. You can look at topos till you're blue in the face, and you're not going to get a good understanding of what you're looking at until you're there,
And especially with Nevada, the biggest part of it is access. And so referencing Gaia GPS and Google Earth, everybody has different like old mining roads that they chart out. And so having, kind of cross-referencing everything and seeing how we're going to approach this is such a game changer too.
Yeah.
That's the biggest piece of the puzzle.
Especially on like a first try.
Right.
I've been skiing Nevada for 20 years, and I'll say most of my success has come from a failure.
Right.
And then a repeat.
Yeah.
And you have the beta, you have a first try down, and then you have a lay of the land, and then you can go back and execute better. But it seems like you guys have had some better luck with even just first tries.
Yeah, and I think it's just like the homework, and I do really equate it to Google Earth and like Hazen's saying, figuring out the roads and the access roads. And like we spoke earlier, we dirt biked the shit out of our snow machines and did some serious damage I ripped paddles.
I'm not
off
buying
my
a used sled from either of you guys.
Or a pair of touring skis for that.
Yeah, don't do it. Yeah, man, I think I've put so much time into like figuring out zones and routes and everything else. So when we go, it's like, it's so exciting because I've never been to these places.
Yeah.
But I've been all over it on Google Earth. And
Right.
it's like,
Yeah.
is it going to look like I think it's going to look? What's it going to be?
Totally.
And
Yeah.
so it's so rewarding, honestly. It's like such a cool feeling. Love that aspect of it.
Have you guys met Connor Phelan yet? Do you know who Connor Phelan is?
I was going to ask you this.
Definitely know of him, and I have a strong Instagram relationship with him.
Okay, yeah.
But that's it. No, and he's
Connor and Willie, man, those guys
I know.
know.
They've been getting after it.
They have an incredible amount of experience out there, and going through Connor's blog is really cool just because they've skied everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've skied a lot of
It's
stuff.
super inspiring to see what they do and how much fun they have, and I wouldn't say it's inspiring to see Willie sleeping in a sleeping bag in the sage, but it's impressive.
that guy's a character.
Dude, it's so cold out there.
The first time I met Willie was we did this amazing mountain bike ride from Donner Summit to Sierra City on this trail that has to go unnamed, and we ended up. We find out there's somebody in front of us the whole time, and we're like, there's one guy like riding solo all the way to Sierra City by himself. And so we had a car stashed in Sierra City, so when we got there, it's like a 40-mile ride, and then we're going to drive back. So we get to, and we were encountering people on the trail, and they're like, yeah, there's a guy in front of you. He's by himself. And I was like, how's that going to work? Is this guy got a car at the end of the trail, or is he just going to, forget about it, get in the truck, we're driving home, and we're in the Sierra Valley, driving across the Sierra Valley, and we see this tall, lanky dude on a mountain bike just motoring across the Sierra Valley, and I'm like, dang, this has got to be the guy. So we like slow down, and I lower my window. I'm like, did you just ride from Donner Summit to Sierra City? He's like, yeah. And I go, are you riding all the way back to Truckee? He's like, yeah. And I go, do you want to ride? He's like, hell yeah. He had no plan, dude. No plan. Awesome. He was just going to ride the whole way. And then we stopped and got dinner.
It's a good way to live life.
Because we were driving up I-80, back to the Donner Summit. He was like, I'm so glad you guys picked me up. I don't know what I was thinking.
I mean, that's a long ride. That's like a 50-mile ride, right?
It's a huge ride.
It's 50 miles just the first segment.
Yeah.
It's 100 miles of riding, probably,
round
with
trip.
a ton of climbing. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's Willie for you. Yeah. He just kind of flies by the seat of his pants.
Love
and then
it.
he's like a gnarly whitewater kayaker dude, like sending cliffs and stuff,
Insanely good kayaker.
Yeah. Funny like character, man. Yeah. So anyway, those guys, they're going to be on the pod. We skied with them last spring on Bunker, but we just haven't had a chance to connect with them yet. But we're going to definitely have another like episode and just jive about all the ski, because I'd love to get more beta on like the stuff they've seen, because they've seen a lot in Nevada, and the ones worth going back to and the ones not worth going back to.
Willie was kind of harping on me a little bit. He's like, yeah, you're claiming there's no beta about Nevada and this and that, and it's like, dude, like, I don't mean it personally, but I don't follow your blog or any of the stuff, like, and honestly, that's what's fun to me, is like, I don't want to follow a guidebook. I don't want to follow.
You want to adventure for yourself.
Blog. I want to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
And that's what's rewarding about this whole thing to me. And it's like, in the coming years, we're going to be going to places that have been skied, and you could probably find a blog about it. But like, in my opinion, like for example, like the East Side Sierra Nevada, like guidebook, that thing's criminal. Like, let people figure it out. Go explore, go have fun, figure it out for yourself. You need direction. Oh, well, we have to go up this canyon, and then the book says take a right here at mile 1.2, and then like, dude, go figure it out on your own. Have fun. That's the fun of it, the adventure, and as I like to call it, cracking the code.
Yeah.
Like cracking the code on these mountains.
We've talked about that on the pod, about that there needs to be a little meat on the bone still for people to still have a genuine experience.
Yeah. I don't need to follow your guidebook, and that's one of the other appeals to Nevada.
Yeah.
And like I said, sorry, Willie, but I didn't follow your post, and I didn't see whatever line,
yeah.
and it's like, yeah, that's what's
in
fun.
a year like last year too, even in the particularly the Eastern Sierras or Nevada, even if there is a blog, there's so much out there still that you can just take.
It's unreal.
Just go one more drainage over, and go explore something else.
Yep, it's unreal how much.
And you don't have to go what the guidebook says. I had a friend in the Eastern Sierras last winter that basically opted to not ski anything in the guidebook.
Right.
That was his prime directive. Was I'm not going to ski anything in the book.
That's the same way that I think, dude. It's I'm going to use this as a place not to go because I don't want to see people.
You will see other people there.
Yeah. And it's it's way more fun to just...
It's kind of how I ski squaw, or Palisades, aka formerly ex-Twitter. If there's an obvious call when I'm at that mountain on a good powder day, I go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
If my phone and everything's telling me this is going to be good, I'm I'm just going to go the
This
other
is
way.
opening at 11.
Right.
I'm not going to go there.
Not going to go there at 11. I'm going to go the opposite direction. And I think that's a
free.
great approach to life in general. Is just go the opposite direction.
Path less traveled.
Twain always said, when you find yourself in the majority, it's time to reform.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's good. Thanks
Good
for that.
stuff. Yeah. Well, with that said, are you going back to Nevada this year?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's on
next?
tap? Are you gonna go do some more poking and sniffing, or what?
I think
Poking and sniffing it in Nevada.
That's what I like to call it. Go out sniffing a poke.
Let's leave it there.
I don't think we're going to do Nevada this year. We might. It depends on the year, right?
Yeah. If it's big.
If it pops off there, then we'll probably go tick off a couple more things because there are more things on the list. Mm-hmm. But, I think just for the sake of the story, and people are going to be I already said it in the last film, you guys probably don't want to see another Nevada film, but this is what you're going to get. And I think if we make another Nevada film, people are going to be all right, dude, we get it. We get it.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, for just going skiing, though. Yeah. Would you go back just to leave the cameras at home and
a personal ski?
Oh, 100p if I had time. I don't really get to ski for myself much, but
yeah.
But yeah, I look forward to years and years in the future of skiing there. It's amazing. It's like I said in the film. It's funny. I was talking to the people at Travel Nevada recently, and they're like, "So your film's basically a love letter to Nevada." I was like, "Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I love that place. It's insane. It's amazing."
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be going there for the rest of my days is how I see it, whether it's one trip a year or a trip every couple years or however it pans out. But yeah, I love it. It's second to none in my eyes. But for the coming year, we're going to be exploring. I think we got to go north. Maybe we'd end up going south a little bit, but I think I'm really intrigued by places in Oregon, Idaho, NorCal, and what am I trying to say? The Eddies and
Trinity Alps.
Trinity Alps, and
cool.
There's stuff in Washington that's not super popular as well, and Montana. There's all sorts of stories to tell out there, and I think just kind of looking for those off the beaten path and not MSP. You watch MSP and TGR and all these big films, and they're basically all going to the same places and skiing the same lines. If you watch the films over the years, it's oh, so and so skied that line. Oh, so and so skied that same line. Oh, and so skied that same line. So it gets repetitive, and just kind of like what I was saying. And that's not to bag on anyone. I'm not trying to do that. It's they're at these places for a reason, and if I had endless heli budget, I would probably be there too. So I'm not trying to hate or bag on anyone, but I just think it's more interesting to me to go find these places that aren't being skied and where people aren't at. And sure, there's going to be a local community or the Willies of Nevada that have been out there and doing it and getting after it, but I don't know their story. I don't know the stuff. It's I want to go find these places that are unique and different and explore. Have fun with it.
All the power to you on that one, Josh. That's rad.
Yeah. So that's what makes me happy, and like, you know, what my passion is at the moment. So that's where I'm going to go.
Right on. Well, boys, we need to bring this one to a close. But before we do, we always like to ask our guests. The name of the podcast is Mind the Track. And when you hear the term Mind the Track, what do you think of? What comes to mind? I'll start with you, Hazen.
I think if you think about it in the opposite way, what we were just talking about is recognizing where the track is and trying to get out of the track and into something that is, you know, unskied or hasn't, you know, stories that haven't been told yet. And I think that's definitely something that we tried to do.
Yeah. I guess first thought is like, mind the track, like respect the path and respect others, and, you know, respect your own path, but also respect what other people are doing, and be respectful in the mountains. And yeah, I guess that's kind of how I see it.
Right on.
That's a better answer.
They're both
Well, you had
good.
to go first. You had like 10 seconds to
Yeah, you're right. At first I would have just been,
No, those are two good answers, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, well, so how can people find out more about you guys, what you're working on, you know, if you're on social, I'm assuming you are, where can they find you, and what can they check out that you guys got going on?
Yeah, I think the easy answer is Instagram. That's my main platform. Josh Daiek on Instagram, and Hazen.
Hazen Films.
Yep. And then Trevor, who spends a bunch of time with us, Trevsky is his Instagram handle, I believe.
Is it Trevsky 123? Yeah.
Trevsky 123.
Yep.
So he'll be on a lot of the trips with us. So whenever we're out in the field and on trips, we're, you know, doing our best to keep the people informed of what we're doing, and, you know, sharing some of our fun adventures. So that's like more in the moment type stuff. And then our films are on YouTube. You can see Mountain State, the original project, and Mountain State 2.0. Just search it on YouTube and
Right on.
It'll show up.
There was also one more project that was sort of the genesis of all this, which is Scratching the Surface. Goes back a couple of years, but this is where Daiek and I started getting sort of off the beaten path and farther into the mountains. So if you want to check out Scratching the Surface, that's in the Eastern Sierra. That's a fun one too.
Cool.
Yeah, that
Daiek
one.
skiing like a madman in
I remember that one. It was
peaks,
in the spring. You guys went and did a bunch of deep camps.
Yeah, in April. That was super rad. That was 2019 as well.
Okay.
That big year, that first year we started working together.
Yep.
But that one's on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Keep hitting that thing.
Cool.
Right on,
Sweet.
guys.
Well, appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on and talking a little bit about Nevada and your films, and keep sending. We're going to be watching. Can't wait to see what you guys have cooking up.
Yeah, look forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for having us.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for listening to episode number 26 of Mind the Track with Josh Daiek and Hazen Woolson. Until next time, get out there, get deep, and put your mind in the track.
Nice, boys.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. That was a good one.